Are you feeling more confident in the plan with the hierarchy now with Quinn, Kingsbury, and Joe Witt Jr. leading the defense? How are you feeling about it at this point?
800-636-1067. I can weigh in. I do feel more confident. I thought initially it felt like Ron Rivera all over again, and it may prove to be Ron Rivera all over again. We'll see. Similar resume in the past to me. Both guys had taken teams to a Super Bowl. Both guys actually lost more than they won in terms of overall seasons.
What's flipped it
Both
for you?
guys slightly over 500 records. But I was impressed. I was impressed with his energy. If you watch the video, the Commanders put out a bunch of videos. If you watch the video of him just walking in the building, he's got the big backpack. It made me think, what's in his backpack? I'm sure he's got a laptop in there, but it was pretty. It almost looked kind of packed. And he came in with the energy, and he's dapping up the guys. Yeah, maybe the change of clothes. I don't know. I think there's reason to be optimistic. A lot of the things that we said before they hired any coach, it could have been fill in the blank coach. Cap space, draft picks, number 2 pick. And I think I was impressed with the way that he said he learned from the past. He kind of assessed what he did wrong. He realizes he can't just be stubborn and have his cover 3 system that he ran back in Seattle when they were winning a Super Bowl, and he can't just run that for the next 10, 15 years. It needs to evolve as the offenses evolve, and he's going to delegate. He's going to delegate to Kingsbury on offense. He's going to delegate. He's going to let Witt call the plays. That kind of surprised me. I thought he was going to be the defensive play caller. He's going to be kind of a Ron Rivera delegator.
I like the fact that he's going to be the guy that's and this is crazy for Ron to be all over the timeouts and game management and what's happening throughout the game instead of being burdened by, well, what's the next play I have to call? Well, what play am I calling 2 or 3 plays from now? Like, that's on Witt, and that's on Kingsbury. Like, he can actually focus on the game, challenge correctly, take care of his timeouts. Don't leave timeouts in your pocket.
And he'll have input. He'll have input, though.
Crazy about Ron. Hopefully he's going to be better than Ron.
But to answer Cakes' question, if you gave me 3 options, right? We're basing this on a press conference. And I always say press conferences in the end don't mean anything. But if you're saying more pessimistic, stuck in the middle, or more optimistic, I'm going to go in the more optimistic just based on what he was saying. I was buying what he was selling. If he says nothing I enjoy more than doing hard S with good people, I think he's got good people in Adam Peters.
Yeah.
And he's gonna work hard.
What struck me is his passion. Like, I just think this guy's really passionate about football, wants to win, wants to get his hands dirty, wants to I don't know, just wants to be super successful. And it's just a refreshing change from the last guy who, no disrespect, I just thought was more checked out, and had other issues going on. And I also like his hires. Like the Kingsbury hire, I really like that. You got an innovative mind, an exciting mind, exciting offense. And Kine brought up something because I was a little wishy-washy on whether I wanted him to call plays or not on defense because that's kind of his calling card, right? This guy's a great D coordinator. The good news is that he knows Witt so well, right? They've worked lockstep together the last 4 years, so that's good. But Kine brought up a good point that Gruden used to say when he was here. Now, Jay's a unique guy, but that when he was the offensive coordinator, he often had things that he would want to suggest the defense or things to consider, but he just didn't have time for it. So this frees you up for that kind of stuff,
Look,
right?
He has experience.
In theory.
He knows what works. So I came off optimistic. I also liked one thing which we didn't play in the clips, but he referenced how Belichick and Pete Carroll in their 70s were just stepping down from the game. Like and just a couple times he talks about building the team. Like, I think he wants to do this for 10, 15 years.
I'm sure
like
he
wants to do it.
He's not looking at this
maybe
as
even
like a 4-year run.
20 years.
100%.
And I don't know. I liked the way that he was talking yesterday. So ultimately, I know it doesn't mean anything. Ultimately, probably the biggest thing that's going to affect his tenure, we all know it, it's quarterback.
Absolutely.
So if they select the correct quarterback, Dan Quinn can be successcul. If they don't, it's going to be very hard for him to be successful.
What about when he said that the one thing he liked about this roster, I think everybody agrees the strength of the roster is the D tackles, even though they didn't have their best year. But then he also said, it's it starts, and like I say it, but I really think he believes it. It starts with both lines.
Yeah.
Your D line and your O line, and obviously the O line needs work.
Yeah.
So
I think that's
his way.
I think that's his way of saying, "Hey, I know the offensive line stinks, and we need to really pour a lot of resources into firming that up."
I was optimistic before the presser, as you guys all know, and I'm even more optimistic now.
Let me see if I can sell you on this. I tried to sell you on this. You guys are probably going to all jump on me, but I did a little research last night.
Uh-oh.
I think they can turn it around quickly.
All right.
And you guys all kind of mocked me the other day and said, it's ridiculous. They're a 4-win team. So everybody knows about the Texans this year.
Yeah.
The year before, they were 3-13-1. And much like the Commanders, new head coach and the number 2 pick. That number 2 pick was C.J. Stroud. Obviously proved to be a stud. They go 10-7, made the playoffs. But we didn't talk about the Colts. Colts were 4-12-1 the season before hiring Shane Steichen. That was Frank Reich being fired, Matt Ryan on his last legs, Jeff Saturday took over.
Wacky owner
right?
in Indy.
But when the dust settled, they hired Shane Steichen. They drafted Anthony Richardson. He ends up getting hurt. They go 9-8. So that's a 5-win improvement from the Colts. Go back the season before. Take a look at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, they didn't draft a new quarterback, but the Urban Meyer year was an utter disaster, right? They win 3 games. 3-14 that season. Even with Trevor Lawrence. New head coach, Doug Peterson. Second stop, right, for Doug Peterson. Much like this is the second stop for Dan Quinn. So Doug Peterson was a retread. Now, he won a Super Bowl. But Peterson, married to Trevor Lawrence, takes a 3-win team, lifts them up 6 games, EB, to 9-8. And then you want to talk about rookie quarterbacks. We said, well, how many rookie quarterbacks take their teams to the playoffs? Actually, you'd be stunned. If you just put rookie quarterbacks, playoffs, stat muse, you'll find a ton. But I'll just mention a couple. Number 1, RG3 did it here.
Yep.
RG3 took over a terrible team, and the Redskins, the then Redskins, made it to the playoffs that year. That same year, the number 1 pick, Andrew Luck, took over an even worse team in Indianapolis, took them to the playoffs. And then I was just looking the last couple of years, like there are a bunch of guys, names that are nondescript, that have been rookies and been to the playoffs.
Well, Purdy.
But, yeah, but that's a really good team, inherited a good team. I wanted to find guys that inherited bad teams. And this wasn't a dreadful team, but this guy is poison to cakes. So much poison that when his name was mentioned as a comp to Drake May, Cakes put Drake May on his FUBAR list.
Yep, he's going on.
Mac Jones is a rookie, took over a 7-10 team and led the Patriots to the playoffs.
But we know Mac Jones is not good.
I know, but the point is,
he got coached up.
You're missing the point. The point is, rookie quarterbacks can take teams to the playoffs, and teams can turn it around quickly.
I have 2 words to counter you. Bryce Young. You have to avoid that landmine. Like Carolina thought they would turn around the Bryce Young as a rookie too. And what happened to them? They went right in the toilet.
Well, Zach Wilson.
Well,
yeah, Zach Wilson too. There's tons of examples on the other side.
But it's not just the quarterback; it's the overall roster. Right?
And Carolina
that
whacked
overall
their
roster
coach,
is
by
bad.
the way.
It's really bad.
Carolina whacked their coach.
Understood.
And it'll get better.
Yeah, but I would just my own. Listen, of course you can get it. You can hit the lottery, or maybe you could say it happens.
It's not hitting the lottery anymore. It happens pretty frequently.
I just think that this team is pretty bereft of talent outside of a couple spots.
And you don't think the Texans or the Colts or the Jags in recent years were under-talented?
I don't know them well enough.
They were under-talented
There's no
teams.
team I know better than this team. And this team, their best player arguably is the punter.
EB, the Texans.
But see, that's what
Texans
you have to realize.
won 3 games a year ago.
Hold on, JP. Hold on.
But I don't know
this
what
is what you have to
talent
realize.
was. I don't know that.
You got to realize that there's going to be so many different players on this roster.
Right.
They're going to get better in a lot of aspects. Now, I'm not necessarily agreeing with JP that they're going to switch it and go 10-7 in year 1 of Dan Quinn. You're asking a lot. They're going to get better.
But you think it's possible?
No, I don't think it's possible.
You don't even
to
think
get
it's
to 10
possible.
Wins. To 10 wins?
10
no.
wins is, but 9.
They'll
get better.
I think
I'm going to say this. They'll get better.
I think year 1 is going to be a lean year for Dan Quinn.
Maybe.
And people have to be prepared for that. But Could he win 6 or 7 games? That's improvement.
Sure.
And then you build on that. Like, I don't see them being a 9 or 10 win team in 2020.
Yeah, but did you see the Texans being
Definitely
a 9 or
not.
10? Did you see the Colts?
You
No,
can't.
but again, those are not the norm.
You're giving
That's
out the
not-
most hypothetical situation. You don't even know who the quarterback is.
But
You
some
don't
of those
even
are
know who the
very
O-lineman
analogous to this situation. New coach, number 2 pick. That's what the Texans did. That was a team that did not have talent. Nobody thought the Texans were going to make the playoffs
CJ
this
Stroud
season.
is turning out. I mean, he had a historic year. It arguably one of the best years in the history of the league.
Why can't the
at
Commanders
quarterback.
do that?
No, the quarterback did individually. He was
he's
a
just saying
unique.
They're going to
team-
draft a quarterback at number 2.
But he may
Yeah,
not
but
be
the
as
quarterback
advanced as
could be
CJ
Bryce
He
Stroud.
may not be, but he could be. I'm just saying, you guys don't even open yourself up
No,
to
I'm
the
just not setting
possibility.
that bar
Why are
up
you getting
there.
so angry?
Yeah, you're just.
I don't
I'm
get
just
it.
not setting the bar that high. The bar for me is a little lower.
It's a lot to ask. Is it possible? Of course. It's a lot to ask, but this roster is going to get better. I'm not saying they're a playoff roster
No,
next
I
year.
think
We
that
don't
they'll
even
get
know.
better, but-
We don't even know one player that they're looking at yet.
I would argue it's
I'm just
the
saying
worst roster since I've been a fan of the team.
and it's going to get a lot better.
I just don't think you have to have
It's the
such
worst
low
roster.
expectations. I think that's what it is. Look, could they end up winning just 5 or 6 games next year? Sure. But there's no reason to have such low expectations. I liked when Quinn said it's not a rebuild, it's a recalibrate.
All right. So the original question is: forget about what quarterback they're going to have. Original question: how do you feel about Dan Quinn after the presser?
well, after the presser and after the hires.
If you were lukewarm, if you were negative to lukewarm on Dan Quinn as a hire, now after the presser, did they convince you at all?
And your expectations raised. My expectations are raised.
My expectations couldn't be any
Mine
lower.
are about the same.
I predicted third-year playoffs. Second-year playoffs will be awesome. I don't think they're going to the playoffs next year. But again, I don't know what players are going to be here.
I mean, it's borderline insane to make a prediction when you don't know 3/4 of the team.
Yeah.
Including the important position.
Here's a tweet from Keith Brill. Tweets us a lot. You can always tweet us at Junks Radio. He said, I hated the Quinn hire, but it's growing on me. It's like going car shopping, thinking you're going to get a sports car, but you wind up with an F-150. It's not flashy, but will be reliable and do the job. The Kingsbury hiring makes me feel a lot better about Quinn.
See?
All right, good.
I do. I agree. I think the Kingsbury hire, because it's, he's got an exciting brand of offense.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And I thought it was interesting, too, that Quinn said, look, he's more than just like a quarterback guru or an offensive guy. This guy's a former head coach.
Yeah.
He's gonna help me
He
in a
knows
lot of
the
ways.
game. Yeah.
I respected what Quinn said, too. He said, look, when I played his offenses, it was tough.
Yeah. Which I think is huge.
Some people actually, the rap against kind of the air raid offense is that it's a lot of the same, that there's not much motion, that they just line up the 4 receivers
I think
and a
that's what Brad was
shotgun.
saying. The guys run the same
They're going to
routes.
adjust that. I
But-
promise you.
Quinn said it was tough to prepare for.
Right.
And look,
I trust
Quinn,
that.
like Quinn said, he's adjusted. I'm sure Kingsbury will adjust, and that offense will morph as he goes along. It can't always look the same, or else people will find.
And
an
when
easy
he
way
was
to
in
defend it.
Arizona, they ran more than you think. I
Right.
mean,
Oh, yeah, I
obviously
heard.
they had Kyler Murray who could run, but the Kenyon Drake, I think, was their top RB. I want to say
I remember he had a few bomb seasons.
Oh,
in,
I
Cake's
think he
not
was
like
close
it.
to 1,000
I
yards.
heard Grant Paulson give the ratios last night, and I didn't write them down because I was driving around. Like one of those years, it was 51%, 49%
Really?
run pass.
Look,
Yeah.
I'm okay if you're running the ball effectively and it's working. I'm okay with you running the ball.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the
That's
phones.
okay.
Let's hit Steve in D.C. What's Steve in D.C. feeling about Dan
Steve,
Quinn?
what's up, buddy? How are you?
What's going on, guys? How y'all doing today?
What's
Hey,
up? What's up?
Not so much. But I do want to say that the Dan Quinn hire is actually pretty good for us. For the simple fact, he kind of brings a great defense, and then he doesn't have to really occupy with the offense because now that he got Kingsbury coming in, he's kind of like the quarterback guru, whisperer, if you want per se.
Mm-hmm.
I think he can actually get the best out of this defense. And I also like the simple fact when he said, Harris said that he's got a little bit more tricks up his sleeve. So I'm thinking he might end up poaching a few more of those defensive coordinators over there in Dallas, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing is I think we could get to the playoffs. And by that, I think if we can get let's say a free agency, if they can make a big splash and get a Derrick Henry to kind of help the young quarterback grow and pair with B. Robinson, I think and it'll address the line and free agency and do a couple of other things right there. But I think we can make that play, especially with getting like Derrick Henry from free agency. I think that could be the splash we need.
Ooh. Yeah, I don't know if an analytically driven front office is going to look at Derrick Henry with all the carries he's had and whatever price and salary he's going to command and think that that's going to be the move.
I'll tell you who's a free agent that I would target in terms of RBs is Saquon Barkley. So
he's an intriguing name.
If you want to go out now, I don't know what the Giants' future is with him, what their plans are, but I mean, I would rather have a Saquon Barkley than a Derrick Henry.
Yeah, this tweet came in from Chris Mack, and it does make me think. He goes, I mean, EB is on the very dude that thought that they could go to the playoffs last year and win 10 games with the same roster. Mm-hmm. You get a better GM, better coaching, better owners, probably a stud draft pick at 2, and we're supposed to be a dump?
You might answer that?
Yeah.
The players aren't as good as I thought. They're not as good.
But they're going to get new players.
And they got rid of – yeah, but, I mean, it's a crapshoot. We brought in 2 new offensive linemen that weren't as good.
Teams turn over so
that's where you have
so
to have
much.
trust in Peters. Like,
right. I'm going to trust, but we'll see.
Ron was just bad at bringing in talent. Like, he was bad at scouting. He was bad at, like picking players. He's bad at signing guys to free agent deals. He's bad all the way around.
Well, it just didn't work. I mean, our Manny Forbes struggled. I thought he had moments, and I'm not giving up on him. I think he can be a long-term
you can't toss
starter
him after
in the
1
league.
year.
But he struggled. So he basically was a big disappointment. Chase was a huge disappointment. Montez was fine, but he never reached superstar level. Payne and Allen, I think, would both tell you that they didn't have their best years. Offensive line was a big disappointment. The guys we brought in, Gates was a disaster.
Was one of the worst in the league.
Wiley was mediocre at best.
Thanks, Eric Bieniemy.
Dotson went backwards.
Yeah.
The tight ends, the young tight ends that I thought were I mean, Bates has always been Bates. He's been fine. But Colt, I thought is it Cole Turner? Is that his name?
Yeah,
He never blossomed. Logan was solid, but I mean, he's getting up there.
Older,
he should be a backup.
Battling injuries.
He shouldn't be your star.
Yeah, they need a youth
Our
infusion
linebackers
there.
are legit terrible.
Yeah. I see where you're going.
I mean, we weren't as good as I thought.
They're going to add pieces, all right?
Of course.
I know you can't add 50 pieces, but they're going to add pieces.
And let me say this for the record before it's thrown back in my face if they get hot. I'm not ruling out a hot streak. They have a mediocre schedule. I'm not ruling out that they could maybe win 9 or 10 games. I just don't think that you should expect that.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, could we hit the lottery?
And look, if they
doesn't like me saying that, but could we get lucky and get the right quarterback and get the right offensive line guys and tweak all those? Sure. But that's a big ass.
I mean, if Dan Quinn goes out there in year 1 with all those holes in the roster and wins 9, 10 games to go playoff, coach of the year.
Oh, great effort.
All right, let's go to Mo in Hanover.
Mo, what's up, buddy?
What's up?
Hey, guys, if you're looking for a leader of men, we got the right guy. Ben Johnson, I'm a football junkie. If you look at Ben Johnson, you look at his practice tape in Detroit, he is so timid the way he interacts with players.
That's what I was worried about.
Mm-hmm.
I was worried about that, to be honest with you.
And then Mike McDonald, I liked him, but his staff was so great, guys. I mean, all his coordinators became the defensive coordinators. He had a great staff. This is a great pick, and I really think Dan Quinn's the guy for us.
Good. All right,
he's in.
All right, thank you.
He's in.
In on Quinn.
He's in.
The proof will be in the pudding.
Go to
Only
Michael.
time will tell.
Michael, Ellicott City, what's up, bud?
Hey, good morning, gentlemen. So I don't feel any differently. I felt good about it from the get-go. I kind of see the NFL like the NBA and a first marriage, right? Every roster, I think you guys are shortchanging this roster. It's had crappy, inconsistent coaching, and we can't even evaluate. So now Dan Quinn is like on his second marriage, right?
So who's
didn't
good?
go well the first time because he didn't really know what he was doing. But the second marriage has a lot better chance to succeed.
So who are we disrespecting? Who's good?
Who do you like on the roster that we're killing?
Well, all right, so I'll give you an example. If you swap Micah Parsons and Jamin Davis, you might have the same player on the other side.
Micah Parsons is a freak.
But you don't know that.
Oh,
He's
come on.
a freak.
Look at Brock Purdy. He's
I haven't broken out the gas station in a while, but that
Hold on,
take deserves it.
What was he saying? I don't quite.
He thinks that Jamin Davis could become Micah Parsons.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. I was wondering the size differences.
What?
The thing I like about Jamin is the speed. Jamin has elite speed.
Yeah.
Maybe Micah's undersized.
Maybe he's lacking instincts. I don't know what it is. He doesn't have the same toolkit that Micah Parsons
Look, I hope
has.
Jamin Davis gets better, but he's not Micah Parsons.
No.
He's not.
Nobody thinks that.
No.
But he is super fast. He is way underachieved.
He is, but
he always had bad techniques. How many times did he just missed assignments?
Yeah.
Now, maybe you put that on coaching.
And one is not going to have his fifth-year option picked up. Mm-hmm. So that's just one of the differences.
But it is one thing that I have thought is Quinn going to look at guys like Jamin and go, you know what? You're better than the way you've played. I can utilize you better. You have a skill set that hasn't translated yet. I can be creative with your skill set and get more out of you.
I'm gonna go with the odds and say Jamin Davis is gonna be a casualty of the new regime.
Oh, you don't think he'll be here next year?
I think as soon as they can part ways with Jamin Davis, they're gonna look at him as, oh, you're a Ron guy. You were picked by Ron back in the day.
I think Quinn might figure something out with him.
I think he might figure something out with him because he's got so much ability.
I think he fits the billing.
He has so much ability.
I think he fits the billing of the two things that he said he wants his team to be: explosive and physical.
Hey, Drab,
I'm not saying he's that often, but he has had flashes where you've seen some explosiveness,
right,
and some physicality.
Can you give me a comp just on physical attributes? Micah and Jamin, like, is Micah noted? I feel like they're similar attributes physically.
So Micah's listed
in terms of size,
245.
Yeah, they're probably similar.
And let me see what Jamin.
Is Jamin a little lighter? Is he a little shorter?
Looking it up.
I'm just wondering.
All right, let's go.
Very, very similar.
Some people agree with you.
Hold on. What's he listed at?
6'3", 234.
All right, they're
the same. He's a little lighter. All right, let's go to Kelly.
Yeah, some people agree with JP.
Kelly, what's up?
Gentlemen.
How are you?
I'm going to go out on a limb.
All right.
I think they make the playoffs with 9 wins next year because 9 gets you in most years.
Year 1, they're going to make the playoffs.
Okay, how? What is it that you see that you like?
And this is what I see. I see a coach who understands how to evaluate and maximize the abilities of the players that he has. So we don't know what they're going to do, but they're going to have to do something probably with a third or quarter of the defense. And we're playing the softest schedule that we're going to play because
that's definitely helpful.
We're in last place.
Definitely helpful.
We're in last place, and then Philly and Dallas are sliding back. So much pressure on those two organizations. The Giants are some trash, so we should not be losing 2 games to them. So we got to find a way to get 3 games in the division, and then 5 or 6 games outside of the division. That's the thing we have to do, and it's within reach if you play sound ball. Last year, we were a terrible tackling and pursuit team. If we just tighten that up, that probably takes away 1 or maybe 2 scores a game.
Well, that's going to get better.
All right, thank you for the call. Your phone stunk.
I also brought this up the other day.
That is going to get better, I promise you.
The NFC is the weaker conference.
Right.
So 2 teams got into the NFC playoffs with 9-8 records this season.
Mm-hmm.
So you got that.
Yeah, you target 9
wins. You got the schedule, and Ron Rivera ran this team into the ground.
Yeah.
They were 4. Could they have been coached worse?
Hard to imagine.
Probably not.
They lost 8 in a row. The team gave up on the head coach.
And likewise, Ron was in punt mode. He knew he was getting fired. He saw the season circling in the drain. He knew it was over.
But honestly, you could look at the schedule, and you saw at the beginning of you saw how difficult that schedule was the second half. It was markedly more.
I just think JP's obsessed with them making the playoffs next year for whatever reason.
He's just trying to say it's possible.
Just let Peters build it.
I agree with that. I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm just saying you guys rule it out of hand.
I just think it's a long shot for them to make the playoffs.
I'm trying to tell you it's not that much of a long shot. Statistically,
why can't I be mellow?
Statistically, it's not that much of a long shot. It happens.
I think you have done a very small sample size. Yeah. I'm guessing
I could expand it out. I didn't want to go back till 2015.
You don't even know who the quarterback is.
I know. The Texans didn't either until they drafted him.
They got lucky.
JP, over the course of 50...
I would change my opinion. If they end up going free agency route, or
JP,
if they follow Snyder's
take a breath
advice,
for a second, please.
Well, I answer his question.
All right, I'm going to answer your question. Over the course of 58 years in the NFL, the percentage of rookie quarterbacks taking their teams to playoffs is very small, I guarantee it. You went out and you picked 10, 12 examples. It's very small. I'm not saying it's impossible and it can't happen. It's just very small.
It's unlikely.
So I'm not saying expect that, but you can expect them to get better.
Well, to answer his question, it doesn't have to be a rookie
because the second worst team in football.
I'm not willing to make a prediction they're going to be in the playoffs next season because EB made a good point before. You don't know who the quarterback is. You don't know all these things. There's a lot of factors, right? So let's say they follow the Rick Snyder plan and they go with Justin Fields. Well, now I'm less optimistic because I've watched Justin Fields.
Exactly.
I'm a little less optimistic.
They might go in that direction.
If they draft,
I would be surprised.
The odds are one of these three quarterbacks might be excellent.
Yeah, I was going to say the odds are one or two of my bust.
Might be excellent. So we got to make sure we get one of those. We don't know which one it is either.
Well, you got to make
hope Adam Peters knows who it is.
I think that's kind of hope.
10 wins?
You got to be hopeful.
That's
on
a
that
lottery.
Hey, one big difference between Jamin Davis and Micah. I was just looking it up. So the size difference, and maybe you'd say this isn't much of a difference, but Micah Parsons ran a 4.39 at the combine.
What did Jamin run at the combine?
4.47. That's not bad.
Still moving.
Yeah,
I just think
pretty fast for a linebacker.
Micah's a little bit bigger, a little bit faster,
a little more explosive.
Yeah, he's a better athlete, better player.
That's good info. All right, let's go to John in Burke. John, what's up?
John.
Morning, Junkies. With regard to Dan Quinn, I'm out on Dan Quinn.
Why?
Just like I would be with any former coordinator who presided over a defense without real size linebackers and with poor defensive tackle play. The defensive tackle play in Washington is probably better than what they had in terms of run stopping ability. But if you see your team get gouged 3 times in the regular season and expect something different in the playoffs against San Francisco, that's probably the definition of insanity. Classic.
Well, what were his options?
I think the option is you go off camera up to Jerry Jones or Stephen Jones and say, hey, guys, before the trade deadline, hopefully, when you see yourself get gouged like that and Vander Esch is out in November, this ain't working.
So you're a Cowboy fan?
No, heck no. I'm not a Cowboy fan. I just said when you see your team it's not my team. When you see your team that you're the defensive coordinator get gouged in the middle, and it's the National Football League, and one of the phases of offense, one of the options for offense is to hand the ball off to run, or these short passes that have a high, that are basically runs, and you can't do anything about that because you're so small. You're playing 6 DBs. That's not a method for success.
So you're basing it off of
one.
All right,
thanks, John. Appreciate the call.
Sounds like he's basing it off of one game.
Well, they were middle of the pack in terms of stopping the run.
Yeah,
so
they were better
it
against
was
the pass.
a weakness, and I do think listening to Quinn, maybe he's okay with giving up some rushing yardage. In terms of, to me, the emphasis is really going to be on forcing turnovers, and he talked about explosive and physical. He wants game-changing plays.
Yeah. I mean,
that's what he got in Dallas from Diggs 2 years ago. Didn't he lead the league in interceptions?
Yes.
And then this year, Bland led the league in interceptions.
Yep. Hopefully that transfers here to Washington. That'd be great because watching the defense last year was painful. That defense that was out of the field was gross.